Hello, everybody. This video is kind of unscripted. It's that time of night at 3 a.m. where I went to bed early for some reason, and then it seems like nothing makes sense in your world. This is a video about dissociation. If that triggers you, walk away. If you want to hear my experience, stick around. Some people ask me, hey Ash, what's dissociative identity disorder like? A lot of people have ideas of identity switching and who am I and waking up somewhere you don't remember. But sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes there's just a very profound disconnect from everything around you, from your own life, from your own world. And this is a video about my experience with that. This isn't a video about crazy identity switching or, you know, some cat girl that I become sometimes. This video is about what the fuck is my life and who the fuck am I in a very profound way. Last night I kind of went to bed early. There was a massive thunderstorm, so it's both dangerous for me and my computer to do a live stream during a massive thunderstorm. And I know this from experience. I've been like gotten electric shock from playing a game during a storm before. I was at work one day and then like a power surge happened and I got electrocuted. Very lightly, but still. So that's why I won't play a game during a storm, but that's besides the point. So I went to bed. Woke up at like 3:30 a.m. Just feeling this kind of like go to the bathroom, I'm in my bedtime clothes, where it's kind of very short, like silk shorts to bed, and a t-shirt. And I woke up and had to go to the bathroom, and I hadn't brushed my teeth. I'd just like kind of fallen asleep when I was just vibing. Um, so that right there, that kind of that knowledge of what I'd actually been doing is kind of a case in point against it being like an identity switch. Because I remember what happened, but it's just kind of foggy or like blurry. You start being like, man, this is my body now. This is the changes I've gone through because I'm transgender. This is... You just look in the mirror for a second. I'm like... I'm really tired because I just woken up and I'm like... Just kind of staring. Look up, look down. Tilt my head a little bit. Stare my face straight. Oh, I'm brushing my teeth. And then you just start kind of being hit with this feeling of, here I am in a place that doesn't even seem familiar to me anymore. A place that seems completely foreign. Sometimes the reality doesn't even hit me. That I live in Alabama now. That I was in the army. That I've lived in China before. You have to understand that in a 31-year-old's life, I've done more things than most people ever dream of. If I told you the mini autobiographical points, I graduated high school in 2012 from a small town in New Jersey. I went to university in 2012 to 2016. I studied anthropology because it was just interesting to me at the time. I had no real plans for the future. Then I finished school. By the end of university, I kind of got an idea. The idea was given to me by my Japanese professor, actually. It was like, hey, if you want to go to Japan, you can teach English over there. And I'm like, that sounds like a great idea. Even then, I didn't really have any plan. I didn't have any preconceived idea before then that I would one day be a teacher. It's just the most expeditious path to the thought I did have, which was traveling the world. But, I finished university and then, it wasn't a great job market and my degree wasn't very useful. So I ended up working at Walmart from 2016 to 2019. And over the course of that time, it was pretty much the same blur every day. You know, I remember reading my journal, and when I look back on it, I had a very profound sense of dissociation at the time. Like I was just gliding through the world, like everything was just going through the motions. And I know everybody feels this to some extent, but when you add dissociative identity disorder, it kind of deepens that to a severe degree. And then you really get to feeling like, what the hell is this? What the hell am I doing with existence, right? Until one day, you know, I came home from work or something, and I'd gotten a message on Indeed.com. So yes, you can get hired on Indeed.com. For those who don't know, I got hired, and it was a really good job actually. So don't knock it till you tried it. You know, in this market, don't be afraid to try anything. But you know, I'm going on tangents. When I dissociate, my ADHD also catches up too. I digress. So I got that job offer, and I'm like, yes, this is it. This is it. This is my path. This is my path forward. I was like filled with glowing in life. I was thinking, damn, let's go. Let's go and see the world. This is going to be awesome. You know, because that was always what we'd wanted since we were very little. You know, all the tales of adventure from Indiana Jones and Bionicle and all these little fantasy worlds that I lived in, filled with wonder. And I was going to experience them. And I was in China, and there were times where China things started blurring. You know, everyone, you know, sometimes after a major life change, you'll be feeling this kind of surreal aura. This aura of like, huh? Am I really in China right now? Even now, I'm like, did I really live in China for a whole year? The answer is yes. The documentation is there. I have it written in my journal. I have all the pictures to prove it. You know, I have even some pictures from work. And I'm like, damn, this is stuff that really happened. But it doesn't feel like it happened. It feels like a blur or a dream. And then you move forward, and then COVID happened, and that was a fever dream for the entire planet, I'm sure. You know, everything in this weird liminality. Just everything's frozen, and the world is changing, and that's uncomfortable. No wonder people were very distressed at the time. And in that blurry space of COVID, I entered what is possibly the most surreal decision of my life. And that decision being, you know, let me join the army. Well, where the fuck did that come from? You know, you went back to me when I was in China, when I was in university, no matter what point in life you pick before actually joining the army. Even to the very day before I walked up to MEPS, you end up with, am I really doing this? Because if you asked me even a month before I actually signed the documentation, and then I had started the process, I applied to join the military in December of 2020. I went to MEPS and basic in February 2020. That is the short time span in which I went to the army. Such whiplash, such a blur. And as a person, I always had issues with trauma, with mental illness. You know, I was never perfect. ADHD, autism, depression times. And I would have never, and I'm a very peaceful person, not violent. I was always like, the one thing I'm going to never do, I am never going to join the military. That was my life creed for such a long time, and I did. I joined the military. And I served for 4 years and 11 months. I was on leave for 7 of those months because of the transgender ban. But I still had to do my stuff for the unit. I still had to do my PT test. I still had to do height and weight and stuff. So it's not like I was a total free pass for 7 months, but it was a lot of nothing, which is why I had time to actually build my VTuber platform. Why am I going into all this? When you wake up at 3 a.m. after a stormy night, lights are still on. You fell asleep while you were on TikTok. And you're like, I'm in an apartment in Alabama and I work at McDonald's now. But also I'm a VTuber? Question mark. But when you take every single hat I've worn, every single place I've been, and try to stuff it into one person, sometimes that clashes spectacularly with dissociative identity disorder. And you're left with this feeling of not that, you know, I switched and I'm not Ash right now. I really don't. Right now, I would say my head is in a space where I don't really know who I am right now. And that's another thing that could happen with the ID. Sometimes you're a different person, but sometimes you're nobody. And that's the other side of dissociation that is almost harder to handle at times than reading or watching a recording and seeing somebody took over your stream because you were losing your shit, right? It can be a profound sense of disconnect. Like, I'm really one human body that was a soldier, a VTuber, a Walmart cart pusher, unemployed, a university student, a McDonald's person, a DoorDasher, and all of these ideas clash inside your mind. You lived in China, you lived in Texas, you lived in Oklahoma, you lived in California, you know, you lived in China. And you've traveled the world so many times over and you've done so many different things. And then your dissociation hits and I'm like, did I really do all of those things? And I'm sat here now looking myself in the mirror post transition. I'm like, I almost don't look like the same person either. So I'm just like, what is this? Ah. And that's why I felt like making this video. I know it's been very rambly and all over the place, but that too is dissociative identity disorder. And choosing to do this video in that mental space, I think, is another unique piece of insight for anybody curious about it. And also just another picture of my life, another story of who I am. Is sometimes I have no clue who I am. And that too is a part of me. If y'all have any questions about my experiences, go ahead and post them in comment below. You know, I'll answer to what I can. But that too is dissociative identity disorder. Yes, it's alters, yes, it's amnesia, but sometimes it is remembering and not being able to reconcile all the things in your life. Dissociation is a spectrum, and you're not totally dissociated at all times. So that's just my fucking type of rant. Yeah? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want more stories of my experiences, hit the like button. Make sure you go to my TikTok that's popping off right now. We got some plans on Twitch and Discord and whatever the heck. You know, wherever the heck it is. But yeah. That's just been the little you know, existential vomit from your silliest Batgirl VTuber. I hope y'all have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.